Welcome to Citizens Dialogue, where every citizen speaks and every voice matters. I'm Chidera Esom. Let's get started. Governor Fubara hails APC presidential primary as Tinubu sweeps rivers. We'll place Nigeria on irreversible path of economic expansion with another 4 years, says Tinubu. Let's go on a quick break. When we return, we'll dive into the discussion. Welcome back. Joining us now is our in-house political analyst, Vincent Okoro. Vincent Okoro, good to have you here in our studio and Happy New Week to you.
Happy New Week, Chidera. I'm quite happy to be here as usual, though you can see the mood on my face. I'm not myself really, because of aside of the political space that is quite uncertain. We are looking at the insecurity that happened over the weekend, in which members of worshippers, in Kwara State were adopted, and then the children that were adopted and their teacher killed, we are yet to hear news about them. And then we also have 3 persons killed, amidst the adoption in Kwara State. I mean, those that were adopted from their worship center. So if you look at my face very well, you can see that I'm quite dull. But of course, we still have to do our work because we have no option than to always deliver as far as the public expectation is concerned on your platform.
Thank you, Vincent. Thank you, Vincent. So moving on to what we have here on politics, Governor Fubara praised the APC presidential primary in Rivers after Bola Ahmed Tinubu win the presidential election primary that happened in Rivers State. Why President Tinubu also defeated Osifo Stanley with a wide margin. So why will Governor Fubara be praising Tinubu for winning the APC primaries, while he himself stepped down during the contest?
Well, Fubara is a Nigerian politician, so he have those who is loyal to. And then if his father, because in this case now, we presume that Tinubu is his father. If not for anything, Tinubu is his political father. So if the father has emerged as the presidential candidate of the APC, I think that is more or less a win for him. And then he recalled that as far as Rivers State is concerned, he is the collation officer. He was appointed as the collation officer. So as the collation officer, he must have been taken away by the fact that he has been able to deliver. Some of the votes did not fall by the wayside. You can see what you are telling us today, that the margin of that election between him, Tinubu, and Wifuru, or whatever, Stanley Wifuru, or whatever it's called, was very, very wide. But littles of thousands to over millions of votes for Tinubu. So that's a wide margin. And then I don't understand why Fubara should be happy, because himself actually wanted to contest for the governorship election, which he later stepped down. And you can imagine the magnitude of that blow on him. And then we are hearing feeders that the power that be in the APC actually came together to deny him running for second term under the platform of that party. And then he's trying to put a bold face that actually is happy as far as Tinubu emerging as the presidential candidate of the APC is concerned. Well, we just take it for the face value for what it is, So because as a party man, there are certain things that can constrain you to act in a certain way. So that's what I think is happening to Fubara right now. Because if you ask me, Fubara cannot be a happy man as far as being a governor or being a member of the APC is concerned. Fubara is not a happy man. So, but duty calls, and you have to answer, and that's why I think that what Fubara is doing is just mere cosmetics, you know, to please those that we can refer to as his paymasters. Yeah. So that's just my take.
Thank you, Vincent.
With respect to that, yes.
Thank you, Vincent. So how significant is Tinubu's sweeping victory in Rivers for the APC?
Well, you know, that automatically tells you that in Rivers State, the APC has come to stay once more. Now, Rivers State used to be a PDP state, starting with the former governor working for Tinubu in the 2020 election. You know, the public begin to have the feeling that Rivers State, given that the former governor is now the political leader of the state, I'm not talking about because he's at the, you know, at the center. I mean, by the work of his hand, by his doings, he is the political leader in the state. Then working with the APC automatically make people to have the insinuation that, okay, gradually Rivers State becoming an APC state. Then before you know, the current governor, being Fubara, formerly defected to the APC. Now today is the APC working for the APC, though I'm still waiting for where they are going to raise his hand as a defector. But you can see it's working for the APC already. Yeah. So that then you now just oppose that to the fact that the current president is the presidential flag bearer of the APC. So that actually makes Rivers State an APC state automatically. You know, now some of the nearest challengers of opposition parties in the state, in the likes of ADC, the PDP, the Labour Party, the NDC, they are yet to show us if they are ready for 2027 in Rivers State, in senatorial election, in the House of Assembly, in local government, what have you. They are yet to show that they are ready. Now, everywhere now, they are talking about the candidate of the APC in Rivers State. We are talking about the presidential candidate being Tinubu in Rivers State. That automatically leaves Rivers citizens waiting for other political parties to rise to the occasion, so that they will not have a situation where Rivers State will be heading to 2027 without any other option than the APC.
Thank you, Vincent. Okay, still on politics, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu won the APC presidential primary in Abuja on Sunday. And while after the winning, he made a speech saying that 4 years of putting Nigerians on a stronger path of economic growth, energy stability, and food security. Him making that statement, does it mean that the other 4 years of him working is not guarantee of another next 4 years of him putting in Nigeria in a good economic stability? Okay,
if I should understand very well, you are talking about the speech of Mr. President after he emerged as the candidate of the APC. Yeah. You know, talking about Nigerians are going to see more economic prosperity, more cleaner energy, and all the rest of them. Well, number one, at that particular point, the president, to me, is not talking as the president. He's talking as a politician. And then you expect a politician to always have something to tell the people. Because this is 4 years gone already. We are heading to another election. What can we say is the achievement of Tinubu government? Is it the roads that I heard that they are using concrete pavement? Or like what exactly can we, has there been improvement in power supply? Now, just as you asked, if he has not been able to show a roadmap, a clear sign that the last 4 years has been prosperity for Nigerians, so what guarantee is he giving to Nigerians now that the next 4 years, if he's re-elected, he's going to deliver what he could not deliver in the first tenure? So, you know, I don't know why our politicians prefer to talk than to do the do. Because what if I am Mr. President? I should be talking about my achievements so far as a precursor for me to be re-elected as the president of this country for the second tenure. You know, but here we are, where Nigerians are being asked to be hopeful again. And to me, that does not add to his quest to win public trust. So that is basically how I see it. So
is he trying to tell Nigerians that a long-term tough reform will bring a short-term tough reform will bring a long-term gain?
Well, that has always been position, especially during facing out the fuel subsidy regime. You know, it makes us understand that if subsidy is phased out, we are going to have a short term of suffering that is going to accumulate to a long-term gain for the country. Then why the outcome so far is debatable you know, I for one can say, okay, if a fuel subsidy is removed and it can result to prosperity, especially across sectors in our economy, it is fine. But where we begin to see, when we are seeing continuously that certain indices, instead of even improving, they are even nosediving for the worst, then it throws to question his position when he is saying that short-term suffering is going to lead to long-term gains or prosperity. It makes us to really question him if those are just mere rhetorics or actually if he means action. Then if he means action, we should start seeing it, especially for the last 4 years. So if you have not been able to utilize the last 4 years after the first subsidy, apart from increased allocation to states that we are hearing, but for it to not translate to food on the table of Nigerians, we are not seeing that. Then it becomes a big challenge, for one to really begin to take the words of the president seriously.
Thank you, Vincent. So how might the opposition parties challenge Tinubu's claims over economic progress?
Well, you expect that the opposition parties are well prepared because, number one, they need to tell Nigerians what the current president is doing that they will do better, or what the current president is supposed to do that he is not doing, which they are going to do. Now you expect that they will be seeking expert opinion, expert analysis with respect to the current state of the country and what they think the country should be and what they are going to do to see that the country is where it's supposed to be. So now the president has come to say something again. I believe that the opposition is listening, and if they are not listening, it is time for them to really pay attention, because we don't want a situation where we have a president that is we are electing another person to take over from Tinubu, and then the person is prepared. The person is not abreast with the realities as it is in Nigeria. So I will say that it is very, very important that the opposition, especially those that are vying to replace the current president, actually pay attention to him as far whatever he's saying is concerned. Then you expect that if I'm coming out as a leader, it is expected that I have knowledge, I have the technical know-how to actually address this problem that I'm claiming I want to address. And it starts from voters' education. It starts from communication to the masses. It starts from sensitization. So that if you as an opposition leader, you are coming to say, okay, Tinubu is not doing well, that's why I'm coming to take over from him, then the masses want to feel your pulse. They want to hear that this is what Tinubu is doing, is not doing right, and this I intend to correct it.
Thank you, Vincent.
Yeah,
thank you for your analysis. Thank you for joining us in our studio.
Well, it's always a pleasure, Chidera, to be with you, especially in the studio.
That's all for today's episode on Citizens Dialogue. And to you, our amazing viewers, thank you for joining us and for being part of the conversation. I'm Chidera Esum. Do have a beautiful day.